This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, very good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome back. So last session, we were discussing about how do we set up our application. Or before to that, even we discussed about, so how this application which we are going to set up looks like, okay, and then we try to set up our application. And I think we set up the components which is catalog and user. So those two components are working fine. So that's where we have understood. And yeah, so let's me turn on those particular servers back again, and let's take a look once again. And then we'll go with the remaining components. So in the meantime, just these machines will take a minute to come back. So just to recall, like what we're actually trying to do. So step by step. So we have understood, like, our business now today's most of the business is on web applications, right? Web-based applications. Everything you see on the web. So the cloud means it's not Amazon. Cloud means it's something on the internet generally, right? So yeah, so something on the internet, and everything is on internet today. Okay, we're not actually kind of installing anything in your local system. So everyone's actually trying to keep it on somewhere in the internet. Okay, so now internet in the sense somewhere over the internet, not on, on the internet, somewhere over the internet. Okay, so that's where okay, the business is actually going completely on the web-based applications, and these web-based applications, okay, should be hosted somewhere, like a company offering some product, like let's say Microsoft is offering some product, this has to be hosted somewhere. Like Google is offering google.com, so that has to be hosted somewhere, right, in the servers. Now we'll look into the servers. So there are static web servers, there are application web servers. I mean, we talked about, right, application servers and static content and dynamic content. So most of the content we see or we run is the dynamic content, not the static content. So static content is one-time job, you set it up and that's it, and done. There's no regular maintenance or regular releases comes into picture there. And that's where, so these applications generally been categorized into three-tier applications, or not categorized. So these applications are generally, okay, so called as three-tier applications, so which the components are categorized into three layers. So one is web layer, another one is application layer, other one is database layer, right? Now even, okay, so just to support that particular environment or that particular three-tier architecture, even our application is also something like that. So we have one front end, certain middleware components, certain backend components we're having, and we're in the process of setting that particular application, and we're understanding after setting it. So I have given a list of steps how to set up that particular component. So you're just following that particular steps, you're just trying to get familiar with that particular application, that's it. And we are in the process of setting up that. And in order to set it up, okay, I set it up, I cannot say that whether it is running or not running, right? So okay, so that is where so that is where I mentioned about okay, so let's set it up first, understand how the working application looks like, and then I'm going to set up the thing. So that I made some screenshots yesterday. Okay, so if it looks like this, then this piece is working, right? So that's where I mentioned, and from there we started the thing. So we set up front end, the web part, and we set up the catalog. We're getting the list of items, and I'm able to register my user basically. Okay, so the user component. Now let's go and try to check that once again. So let me open the front end application on the browser. So it's coming, and the categories is not coming. So there is something wrong. What could be the wrong? Let's go and verify. So if you remember the architecture, so my front end, let me bring that probably. Or I think I mentioned here. Okay. Diagram. So my front end will talk to catalog. So either there can be a mistake that your front end cannot be able to talk to catalog, or a catalog not talking to the MongoDB. If anything is breaking, that's fine. Okay, so that's the same thing. Now let me go and take a look, like, so where it is going wrong. First of all, let me go with the catalog server. So the catalog server looks like this. Okay, this is the IP address of my catalog. All right, sudo su hyphen. I would like to check the status of my systemctl status catalog. So it is actually giving it is not loaded. So that means what is the missing thing? Systemctl, I might have forgot to give enable part. Okay, so systemctl start catalog. I started the catalog, so that's the mistake happened. So refresh. Now catalog is started. It is able to fetch the details. Okay. All right. And the next thing is okay, so this one is working fine. Yesterday I already registered my user, so I probably can go and just log in. Okay, right. So yesterday I already registered the user, and yeah, I'm able to log in. Yeah, perfect, fine. Now if I go into the product, any product, and I'm just trying to give all and click on add to cart, so it's actually giving an error. So this error is coming because the cart service is not running there. Okay, so now I'll go and okay, try to set up the cart service. The user is done. Let's go with the cart. So if you want cart, you require a server there, and let me go with launch instance from the template. So this is the one, and so one instance only. Here it's coming, and I'm naming it as cart. Okay. So yesterday also I mentioned about tagging. How do you add some tags? So tags will help us in understanding what is, so what is that resource basically, and tags are quite important. Okay. So it's also a Node.js service. So first thing first, what we are doing yesterday, so set hyphen host name, we'll set it as cart and disable auto shutdown. So it is auto shutdown, exit once, log in once again, that name will come. Okay. So this name helps you in understanding in which server you're executing the commands. Okay. So that's a really useful option. And you go with the uninstall Node.js, this one, just give this. So it's also a Node.js component, so that's where you're installing the Node.js. And after that, you need to add a user. So the same standard practice, you should be running as some application user. Let me switch to RoboShop user. And so from there, I want to download this, call this one cart.gz and mkdir cart. So cd cart and unzip the files of /tmp/cart.zip file. Okay, it's getting some files. Now you have to give npm install. These are standard steps. I'm not referring the documentation. I know it. I'm just doing them. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, done. So now I'll go back to the root user. Now vim/home/roboshop and then cart and then systemd.service file. So you are having, it's actually contacting to two guys. One is Redis and the other one is catalog. So I need to replace this particular Redis_host equal to, so yeah, so Redis_host is equal to, I need to update this. So Redis guy, this is the IP address. I'm taking the IP address and giving it. Now, what is the thing you have? Okay, the next thing which we have is Redis, and catalog also it is contacting. Okay, so this is all right. So save and quit, and move this file to /etc system file as cart.service, and systemctl daemon-reload, and systemctl enable cart service to start at the time of reboot, and start cart service. Okay, so tail-f, you'll get the messages in var log messages. So tail command, tail-f, what it does, I told you yesterday, it just follow the logs and it will show you, just follow the log file or a file, and it will tell us basically what is so, or every service put a log entry, and we'll monitor that particular log and we'll understand what is happening. So you can see that it actually cart started on 8080 and it is giving a Redis as ready basically. Okay, it's actually able to contact the Redis as well. Okay, done. And what next? We need to verify whether that particular component is working fine or not. Okay, so I will just go to the all. No, it will not work. Why? Because in the front end you have to update the information, right? So in the front end, so I will go here. So where is our configuration? vim/etc nginx default.d. Okay, and roboshop.conf file. So here for cart, it was saying it is a local host, local server, but I want to say that it is not running in my local server. It is running inside this particular machine. Okay, where is that machine? Okay, and on 8080 port, and here log is also telling that it is running on 8080 port. So here also you are forwarding the request to 8080 port. So there's a logic relation, right? And systemctl restart Nginx. Okay, done. Now if I go here, go to the UI and say that if I click on add to cart, now it is saying the added to cart. So that means my cart part is also working fine. So you go to the cart and you can see the cart, and so yeah. All right, and yeah, and the next thing, so over here is what is the next component? So which we have is a MySQL. So I'll launch the 4 servers at the same time. I'll just go with MySQL first. Launch instance from the template. Yeah, I think mostly the servers are up. Let's start with one by one, which is MySQL. Okay. And disable auto shutdown. So you got the MySQL one. All right, so what MySQL is telling, so here MySQL, you need to set up the repository. Yes, of course, the same way you need to set up one repository, and here it is. Okay, so you set one repository. If you set one repository, what's going to happen? It will give you flexibility to .repos.d and then mysql.repo. If you do that, you're telling that you can download the MySQL packages from this particular repository. That's it. Okay, you do that, and so after that, there is one existing package which will give you a config to MySQL installation. I'm just removing that particular package. So this package is really not needed, and this comes as a default with the operating system, but it conflicts with MySQL. Okay, MariaDB conflicts with MySQL. Why MySQL conflicts with MariaDB is, so MariaDB is also a MySQL kind of thing. Okay, so MySQL is a product which is from Sun Microsystems, and Sun Microsystems has been acquired by Oracle later, right? So Oracle actually, at the time, the 2010 acquisition of Sun Microsystems, so Oracle was not a great supporter of open source, but Sun Microsystems was a end-to-end open source supporter basically. Okay, so that's where certain people, so doesn't want to work with the organization from Sun Microsystems. What they did is, so it was an open source. They took the code, okay, and started their own stream, and that now it is called as MariaDB. The Jenkins also came the same way. So it was a Hudson project. It's a Hudson product inside Sun Microsystems. Oracle acquired it, and they took the Hudson and they renamed that particular project as Jenkins. And today the Jenkins is something came out into the market, right? So yeah, that's how it is. Okay, so yeah, so this MariaDB is actually comes with some the CentOS on operating system as default. So it actually gives a conflict with MySQL because those are two kind of same packages. If you are actually installing, or if you are having two softwares actually in the same system, it kind of a conflict it. Okay, that's where we need to remove that, and I'm removing it. I'm remove, and after that I'm just giving yum install. Okay, done. And after that, you install MySQL and you go with the systemctl enable MySQL. So systemctl enable MySQL and systemctl start MySQL. So you started the MySQL service, and now there is a default password which will be generated by MySQL in one log file. So that MongoDB never gave this issue, okay, because that's a different software. That's their developers' approach of how to give it, okay. But this MySQL is kind of giving is, so it gives one temporary password. Okay, grep temp from /var mysqld.log. Grep command, what it does, it search for a word called as temporary, and var log mysqld.log file, and you're getting one password here. So this is the password. So this is the password you're actually having as a default password. So using the default password, you have to reset the password. How do you do that? So you go with MySQL secure installation. There's a command called as MySQL secure installation. So just go with MySQL secure installation and enter password for root user. So it is actually asking for the password. I'm going to take this password, and if you are using PuTTY, right click will automatically paste it. Okay, if you are using terminal from macOS, use command V to paste it. and it is asking for the new password. I'm giving abcd@1234 and abcd@1234. Okay, so actually they are putting like, estimated password strength is 100 characters. Okay, do you want to put 100 characters? No. Okay, I want to go with no option. Okay, so then remove anonymous user. Okay, I'm just giving enter, nothing, I'm doing anything. I'm just giving enter. Only I change the password and I gave enter. Now I want to test out my username password is working fine. So mysql -u root and -p. I gave abcd@1234. Okay, without space you have to give, and you hit enter. I'm actually getting into MySQL prompt, so that's where I entered into MySQL. Okay, so that's fine. And what I'm trying to tell is, hey, you can go and validate. I mean, it's really not needed. Okay, but still, okay, you can do this. You can remove the password policy. Password policy means one capital character, one number should be there, one special character should be there. Password should be 8 characters minimum. Also, some rules are there. Okay, if you don't want them, okay, you can just disable them. So uninstall the plugin, validate password. You just do that. It's technically in the real time, it's not going to happen this way. Okay, and what I'm doing is just to make our lab easy only, I'm doing it. So alter user, this step is really not needed. I can remove this, but still, yeah, since we are actually putting it here, so I'm resetting my password. Alter my user, it's a SQL statement. You don't have to bother about much about this, but yeah, so if you're really interested, you have to get into the details of the SQL commands. But yeah, so just for now it is okay. Because why? Because these all schema and commands will be provided by the developer. Okay, and you will also really need not to much worry around this. Okay, so but overall general idea is fine. So what this command is doing is alter user root and localhost connection for the root user. So it should be identified by a password, and that means it's actually changing the password to password. Very simple one. I did that, and I'll come out and download the MySQL zip file. And MySQL -u root and -p, and you should load this particular shipping.sql file, and you should load this particular shipping.sql file, and I have to enter the password. The password is simple password only, PSSWRT. I hit enter. It is just loading that particular shipping. Okay, so this is how you are having it. It's just loading the SQL file. It's a very big file. It has a lot of details, so that's where it's just taking some time, and you just loaded that. Okay, that's MySQL part. And MySQL is dependent on whom? So MySQL, who is depending on MySQL? Shipping is depending on MySQL. If you see the diagram, basically, so who is actually depending on MySQL? MySQL is being dependent by shipping app. So the next one is going to be shipping. So that's where you set up MySQL, and the next one goes by shipping here. Shipping service is responsible for finding the distance of the package to be shipped and calculate the price based on that. It's not really like a shipping. It's a delivery service. It's a different one. Okay, so it's a dispatch service. That's something different. Okay, so shipping is something to calculate. Based on your location, the price will be calculated. The courier charges will be calculated. So that's where. And the shipping is written in Java, and that's where we need to install Java. And so there's a Java wrapper tool. We'll talk about this in detail in later. Okay, so the Java wrapper tool actually. Java wrapper tool comes up with with some software called as Maven. You install the Maven, that's fine. Okay, that installs Java automatically. But before to that, I require shipping server. set-host name, sorry, set-host name, and which it is shipping. Okay, and disable auto shutdown, right? Now su hyphen also will give you the shipping message, which is fine. And the next one is let's do this. Yum install Maven. And the next one is user at RoboShop. It's still same. So some standard user and su hyphen RoboShop and mkdir shipping and cd shipping, and you go and download the URL software and unzip the file. Okay, and do ls. Now here you have to give mvn. So what is the command I have given? Like npm install to install the dependencies. So here mvn, so clean package also is going to be for kind of getting the dependencies downloaded, and at the same time it actually compiles the code as well. Okay, so Node.js is a scripting language. It doesn't really require a compilation, but Java is a compiling language, so that means it's actually need to get compiled. Okay, so that we'll talk about later in the continuous integration part bit later. Okay, so but just for now some idea is fine. That's okay. You just follow the commands, you get the artifact. That's okay. And there is a jar file which is generated, so move that particular jar file which is inside target directory. So as to here as shipping.jar file, you got shipping.jar file. And what is the next thing is copy the service file. Okay, so now exit. So VIM slash home slash RoboShop and then shipping and then system.service file. So here it is looking for cart. Okay, so this again looking for cart endpoint, but actually it's giving us 8000. It's something wrong, which is 8080. Cart is running on 8080. So just correct that. And the cart IP address is this one. Just go with this. And it's asking for DB host. DB host is nothing but the MySQL DB host. So which I'm going to give the MySQL and take this and put it here. Okay, so 7 quit and then systemctl restart. No, we need to move this file to here /etc system which is going to be is shipping.service file. Okay, systemctl daemon -reload and systemctl enable shipping and start shipping. Okay, you can monitor the log tail-app /var log, /var log messages. Okay, it's actually giving some message, and yeah, so finally it started, it seems. Okay, so started shipping service application. All right, I got the information, and also it started on 8080. All right, so now the next thing what I had to do, I had to update the Nginx configuration so that there is a shipping also is available. I just want to put the port number. Yeah, so shipping, this one, put it here. Okay, now let's go and hit this, and I want to go with checkout. It is giving a list of countries. It worked like a charm, no issues happened. Okay, so and just give Sydney, whatever it is, and calculate and click on confirm, and now you click on pay now. It will not work. Why? Because the payment is not there. So then I have to bring up the payment. Okay, so let's go and do that. Okay, so yeah, is that clear? Any questions on this so far? I see a question in the chat already. I've been holding it. I will answer your question, Nikhil, after the payment part. Okay, I'll answer your question. But before to that, any other questions on this so far? What we're actually trying to achieve? So we set up the cart and then shipping component now. Any questions? All right, so the next thing is the payment part, and so let's, for the payment actually there is something called as a dependency, something called as RabbitMQ. What is this RabbitMQ? Why do you require, okay, a RabbitMQ, or why do you require this particular queues? Okay, so let's try to talk about that. So I know you know this actually, every one of you know this particular one, but behind the scene what is happening you don't know. Okay, so let's say you have a WhatsApp mobile. Okay, you have a WhatsApp, right? And you are sending a text message to some other WhatsApp. But this you're doing. Okay, so now this guy is online. You send the message, he receives it. Okay, you get a tick or double tick or whatever it is, right? So you get that, and you understand whether he received or not. Now let's say this guy is actually switched off the mobile. Okay, now this guy switched off the mobile. You try to deliver a message, and it tried to deliver, and it failed. Actually, right? So it's been tried to deliver this, and it's failing. Okay, so the responsible of this particular application, so let's try to understand, instead of WhatsApp, let's try to understand is as two applications. Okay, so one application basically is trying to send the information to another application, and that another application is actually a kind of a down. Okay, let it be down. Okay, so let it be down, not a problem. Now if I hit this particular application, so that is being down, so that means my message, where it goes onto air, right? It's throw an exception. My application responsibility is to deliver the message, not deliver, throw the message, that actually throws the message, and that job is done. Basically that job is done. Okay, so but I cannot actually bring this application responsibility to deliver the application. Why? Because this application has some business work to do. It actually its responsibility is not to go continuously, and so its responsibility is not to continuously deliver the message. Its responsibility is to do some business work. Actually it's doing some kind of work, but it's not actually delivering the application continuously. Okay, so that's where the problem comes into picture. If the destination, wherever it is trying to deliver the message, if the destination is not available, so the request goes on air. So that means, like, let's say there's a payment service. Okay, I did the payment. Okay, the payment actually is done. Now this payment guy actually dispatching the information to some other guy. Okay, third party guy. Okay, so it goes to the third party actual distribute. Amazon have a lot of retailers in the register, right? It actually goes to the retailer. Basically their application, it hits it. Now these are some reason this retailer application is down. My payment, I paid it. That retailer will never receive my application. I never receive my product as well. Okay, so that way it should not happen, right? That way it should not happen. So it should go in a better way. Okay, and at the same time, my payment service, I cannot retry everything. Okay, that's also is not something which is not expected. So like something like your WhatsApp, your mobile should not actually continuously retry. Okay, you put the message, even you switch off the mobile, the other guy should receive that particular message at a certain point of time. Okay, so that's where this message queues comes into picture. Now what happens is, your messages will be delivered to a system. Okay, so here you are having an app 1, okay, you're having an app 2. So now app 1 and app 2, so this is actually putting the messages. Okay, so over here, so which we called as queues. Queue is nothing but, queue means first in first out, right? So the first one just goes one by one, or in parallel also, the way you configure. So this will deliver that to the app 2. Even though app 2 is down, your your queue server will understand this. Okay, queue service will understand that the app 2 is down, and it is supposed to deliver the message after the app 2 comes into picture. After app 2 comes into picture, it will deliver all the messages to the app 2. Okay, so that's where your critical messages will never go anywhere. Your critical calls will never go anywhere. Okay, so for sure your request will reach to the other third party. Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, and in this area, so RabbitMQ is a kind of a very legacy one, so very old one, but this guy is also using that one. But today's world actually, so one of the other component which is majorly famous in this area is Kafka. Okay, so Kafka does the same thing. Okay, but anyhow, our application is RabbitMQ. Okay, I'm just going with the RabbitMQ. Okay, so but at the same time, as I mentioned, so today's trending one is Kafka, not the RabbitMQ. RabbitMQ is there in the systems from quite long time. A lot of banks uses RabbitMQ, especially. Okay, a lot of legacies uses RabbitMQ, but still Kafka is something providing much features around this area. Okay, and yeah, so that's where anywhere it's a message queue, you drop the message there, that the message queue ensures that it delivers to the other side, other party basically. Okay, so that's the purpose of queues. Okay, now WhatsApp in between you and in between your friend, basically when you're communicating, do you think actually the message actually going to directly? No, it's actually taking your message, putting in the queue, and that queue will ensure that it delivers to the other person. Okay, and that's how it is going now, right? So yeah, just a simple example, and that's a RabbitMQ. Even our guy is also using RabbitMQ, so to deliver the message to a third-party systems. But actually, we're not enabling any third-party systems here. We just deliver the message to the RabbitMQ, and RabbitMQ is not delivering the message to other parties. We're not actually bothering that for now. Okay, so for our application side, what we're doing is whether the payment is actually getting processed or not is the only thing which I'm actually looking into. Okay, so yeah, I'm not bothering about the message, but actually this payment application is something dependent on RabbitMQ. Without RabbitMQ, it will not work. Okay, so that is where I'm putting RabbitMQ as mandatory. So we need to install this RabbitMQ. So clear? Any questions? Hey, did I not show this diagram? I'm not sure. You were seeing the diagram only, right? Now only I moved here.
No, we have seen the diagram.
Okay, fine. So, all right. So, yeah, and yeah, let's go on with install the RabbitMQ. That's it. The RabbitMQ installation steps I have given. So just follow them, and I'll take one server there. So here, RabbitMQ. So this RabbitMQ returns on has been written on Erlang. So that's where I'm installing Erlang. Erlang is also another language. Okay, language installed. And after that, you need to set up the RabbitMQ repositories. But these guys are giving something as an asset script. You run this asset script that brings some RPMs, repo files actually. Okay, I'm running this. So I go undo this. And the next one is yum install RabbitMQ server. Okay, so RabbitMQ server, I installed it, right? Yeah, already installed it. And systemctl enable RabbitMQ server. Systemctl enable RabbitMQ server, and the systemctl start RabbitMQ server. That's it. So the RabbitMQ is now started. So for my application to connect, this is a message queue. It's also like a kind of a database. It's not really a database, but it's also kind of a database. So that's where someone want to connect to that particular. So someone, if you want to connect to this particular RabbitMQ, should have a username and password. So the default username and password is guest, so which is not allowed for remote connection. So that's where I'm actually creating a separate user for that. Okay, so RabbitMQ add user RoboShop, and the password is RoboShop123. Okay, and RabbitMQ use, so set user tags RoboShop and administrator. So that means what I'm doing is, so to the RoboShop user, I'm adding a tag called as administrator. So he can create queues, he can push to the queue, something like that. Okay, and also like RabbitMQ I'm giving some kind of permission. So I'm also not sure what the 3 stars actually. when we refer the documentation to get the admin privileges. So these 3 stars is what we have to give. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, so here's something I have given user management. I referred from somewhere from here. If you're curious enough, what is the 3 stars actually, you can find out from this documentation. Okay. All right. So yeah, the RabbitMQ part is set up. The next goes with is payment. Set -host name, and it is set -host name. It is payment. All right. So what the payment is telling? Payment is a Python service. So this service is responsible for payments in e-commerce application. This service is written in Python 3. So that's where we need to install Python 3. All right. So let's do that. So after Python, so just go with the user at RoboShop. -RoboShop. Okay, and so download them. So mkdir payment, cd payment, unzip the file, which is payment.zip. Okay, you unzipped it. Fine. What is the next thing is install the dependencies. So to do the installation of dependencies, you should do it as a root user. So this Python requires root privileges. It's not like npm install. You cannot do it locally, or Maven. So you cannot do it as a normal user. So this Python especially requires a root privileges. So that's where I'm coming back to the root user, and I'm going into this directory. Okay, So, and what all the dependencies it is there, it is actually given in the file called as requirements.txt. So it is actually looking for this particular one. I'm giving that particular one. It's downloading those particular packages, Python related packages, Python related dependencies. And finally, update the, so there is one more thing. So this should be run as a RoboShop user. We need to update the payment.ini file, id space RoboShop, id space RoboShop. So it's giving 1001, 1001. Cat payment.ini file. It's actually having the user ID it is supposed to run basically. So vim payment.ini. It should run as 1001 and group as 1001. RoboShop details I'm giving. Okay, it should run as RoboShop user. That's why we created the user. Okay, so that's fine. And vim system.service file. So it requires a lot of information. So cart services it is looking for. So after the payment, it will clear the cart, right? After your payment, your cart will be cleared. So that's where it need to contact the cart. And so that's where let's take the cart. Address, you give this. And after that, after the payment, it has to update the user profile saying that this guy purchased one product, this is the order ID and something like that. So that's where it need to contact the user service also. Okay, so I'll go to the user service and this one. And so the AMQP host, that is nothing but RabbitMQ host, which is RabbitMQ host is this one. Okay, you take this, put it here. Username password is already same, so I can just use this 7 quit and mv systemd2/etc system /system/ system cdl daemon -reload system cdl enable payment system cdl start payment tail -f/var log messages. I think it is started. Now let's go and update your so front end saying that hey, I have payment also now. So payment guy. Restart Nginx. Now let's go to here and just click on pay now. Error placing order. I don't know. Let's come to the cart again. So click on checkout. Let's find the issue. What you're getting login refused basically. Okay, so login was refused using the authentication mechanism plain. Okay, so something, there is an error basically contacting the broker, which is it is trying to contact the RabbitMQ. RabbitMQ is actually throwing an error. Okay, so why so? Because I already added a user and I'm connecting to that user. Okay, let's take a look. So access refused, this is the message we are getting. Yeah. I know the mistake. Actually, you're giving the username and password. So my code, I have not actually enabled So ps-ef grep for payment, and let me kill that particular process. You can also do the systemctl stop also, but somehow the stop will take a little bit time for this service. Yeah. So a small thing I had to modify. So here in the payment.py file, it's actually referring the guest username and password. So somewhere it is going to refer the guest. No, not here. In the rabbitmq.py. So it's actually referring the username, guest, and guest. Either I update here the username and password, directly hardcode it, or I can go with something like this. I will update this directly in the code. Let's not do this here. I will go with directly going to here. You don't have to bother about this. Next time you run it, it will come without any issues. So payment only, and I go with mq.py. Click on edit. User. And what is the so what is the environment variables? Cat /etc system and then system / payment.service file. So amqp_user is a variable, you should take it, and amqp_password is the one, you should take it. Okay, so if this variable is there, it will not use this one. Okay, so I will say guest. I will say something here. If the variable is not there, then pick up the guest. So that's the logic here. Okay, so yeah, the variable is not there, that particular one. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go for host is equal to self.host, and here it is self.user, and here it is going to be self.password. Okay, so I'll put this much. Don't worry about this process. So vi payment.rabbitmq.py. So I just keep the messages. I mean, update that one here, and systemctl start payment. So tail hyphen / log messages. Now let me give a look. Go here and click on pay now. Now the order is placing. Yeah, perfect. So it should contact the RabbitMQ. Earlier it was not able to. Okay, fine. So let me update that particular code here. Okay, it is as is, no problem. So the next time if I run it, so you will get the proper code. Okay, so no issues. Yeah, I think that's all. So all your application is working fine. All your points are working fine without any issues. Yeah, so right, any questions? So now there is one question on the chat. So in the diagram, I have not mentioned about component to component communication. Yes, that's true. So I have not made So only the tier to tier relation only I have given. Like let's say your payment is contacting to the user and the payment is contacting to the cart. I didn't update that information. That's true. You can refer that particular one from the system services. Okay, from the services, you can have some understanding there. Okay, yeah. So when you update the systemd file, so you just refer that as for the information, and from that you should be able to catch it. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Any questions, clarifications on what we have done?
So the system files are the ones where we were giving the reference to the other server.
Other components.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions?
Yeah, we cannot open multiple windows in Putty, right, Raghu?
So I mentioned, right, so there are some other softwares as well. You can explore them.
Super Putty you said, yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Any questions? All good. Okay. So now here, so where are we basically? So we are in process of something. Yeah. So here it is, and from there we went to 3-tier architecture, the RoboShop architecture. So we talked about spot instances, and fine, we just made that and it's on templates, and we set up the RoboShop application. Okay, so now anyone can just forecast some problems here. So there are some problems on the things what we have done so far, right? So there are some problems. So what are the problems generally? So which can come over here is so here the problems we can forecast is you're doing manual steps. You're doing manual steps. So that's where so every time you want to set up the things, you have to go and manually type the thing. So that's not our scope. That's not our work even in the working environment. So that's where we need to think through something. We need to think through something around this. Okay, so that's where the manual steps is one problem basically. Okay, we'll start addressing that. And the next one, so what we have, so we have standalone servers. So that means only one server you are maintaining for one component. So how about if that server is down, so your application is down, right? So some of the components will not work. Okay, so that's where the standalone servers is also a problem. And the dependency configuration. So how about the configuration you are making? The dependency configuration you are putting IPs. Okay, so today we are in a world of immutability. Okay, that means we destroy the servers and recreate the servers all the time. So if I'm making the destroying and recreating all the time, so actually I cannot actually go with so an IP address. Rather than that, I should have some standard configuration around that. Okay, that's another problem. Okay, so the problem which will come up. And the scalability. Now let's say all of a sudden a lot of load come into picture to my application. Okay, so I need to scale my application. So that's where the scalability comes into picture. And at the same time, so the security. So we're not at all bothering about any of the security practices so far. So those are the problems which we can forecast now. Okay, so I think we can start addressing one by one problem. So this is the reality basically. Okay, so what you're going to see is the reality. Okay, so now you have an application, you have some bits and pieces there. All right, now you're going to start setting up this standardization. So that's where these are the things. Does anyone think any other point can come into picture? Like I just forecasted this, but anyone have anything else in mind? I'm saying like manual steps requires automation. Okay, so standalone servers require high availability, and dependency configuration should be addressed by some standardization, not with the IPs, and the scalability should addressed with auto scaling, something like that, and security should be addressed as well. Yeah. Anything else, people, you think from your point of view, from the at least from the application, whatever we have set it up? Any other problems you think through? Anything related to the standardization? Any rough guesses? All right, so those are the things. So then probably you can move on. So here the problems we're forecasting, we'll start addressing one by one. My intention is we'll start addressing one by one. Okay, so then we will go with yeah, we'll start addressing one by one, simple as to say. Okay, this is the problem statement basically. Okay, so the next thing is okay, so here the manual steps is a problem. So now let's go with some automation. So if I want to start with automation, the scripting is the very starting point. Okay, so that's where you have shell scripting, you have Python scripting, you have Ruby scripting, Java, Golang, TypeScript, a lot of scripting languages available. Okay, but so we're going to pick it up shell scripting. But why shell scripting? The answer is pretty simple. Why shell is default in the operating system. Okay, shell is default in the operating system. So either use Python may or may not be there on the operating system. Okay, so you go with Ruby may be there or may not be there. Okay, so we don't know. And whereas Java the same thing, and other languages also the same thing. But shell is mandatory in the operating system. Okay, it's a mandatory component, and that's where we'll prefer to use shell scripting. So that's where you know to really install some third-party applications or third-party software also. It comes out of box, and that's where we want to start the things with. we want to start the things with shell scripting, and the next thing is so yeah, it's a very simple one to start with. Okay, shell scripting is inevitable. Okay, you cannot avoid shell scripting at all. Okay, so shell scripting is a mandatory knowledge when you are dealing with an operating system. So that's why also is a mandatory thing which we are actually talking about. Okay, so here Python is an alternative. Okay, so when you're dealing with something also, you should understand what you're dealing with. If you're dealing with an operating system, then shell scripting is the better answer. But if you're dealing with some application, okay, if you're dealing with some application, then shell scripting is actually not gonna be a right solution. Okay, so then it has to be something else. Okay, so for example, I also I have my own application. I go with okay, YouTube uploading. Every day I upload the YouTube. So the wrapper script which I have is a shell script. So basically it runs on operating system end of the day. Okay, so I'm actually making some some shell script. But on top of that, so now after that, so what actually I'm required, so these sessions are conducting in GoToMeeting. Okay, in GoToMeeting, I had to log into GoToMeeting, and I had to log into the GoToMeeting, and I had to fetch this. So today's session happened, we had to fetch that information. There's a recording available, we have to fetch that information. So that actually, I think so video, I think Puppeteer is a concept, or Puppeteer is a one, so which will find out that which will do that particular job. So, and here it is actually written in a JS, basically in a Node.js. I think it is actually inside the test directory. So this code will try to kind of go and open the GoToMeeting, and it will even in fact talking about, so there is steps basically here. So these are the steps basically which it will do. Okay, just I'm trying to tell you is, when you have certain systems in place, like certain certain applications you are hitting. I'm hitting a GoToMeeting application, right? I felt so easier actually with the with this particular puppet here. I'm just using that. Okay. After that, I'll upload to the YouTube. Okay. So YouTube uploading will be will be happening on the some kind of Python script. Okay. If you do this, so this is a code actually which is used to upload the video to the YouTube. So this is how basically it just so pulls and pushes. Okay, I'm dealing with the application. Now let's say I'm dealing with something else also. The videos actually comes with a standard logo, right? Every day the session number, usually the what we call thumbnail of that particular one will come with a very standard naming convention, right? So that I'm making a image maker. So the image maker is basically so to make that particular image, it make the images. Okay, and it's a very simple shell script available there. Okay, and even you look in there, it's a very simple shell script actually which does the job. Okay. All right, and so that is how it is. Arcat run sh. So this is a simple thing. So convert is the one, so which I have. So this is the one. I take white background because all my YouTube videos you'll see white background, right? Or I can make it black background, right? So based on that, I'm using a font size. I'm using a size basically. I'm putting some variable and doing that, and I'm replacing it. So I'm just thinking what I need, and based on that, I'm actually making the things. Okay. So the same thing applies to the so when you're actually writing some scripting, you have to understand so what is the right tool to do what is the right thing or right tool basically for that particular requirement. Okay, if you're dealing with the operating system so then shell scripting is the best option inside the operating system. Okay, or else today you have a configuration management tools, the next level, but the mandatories or the basic one is shell scripting, and that's where shell scripting is a mandatory knowledge basically. Without a shell scripting knowledge, you cannot survive much. Okay, shell scripting is a very foundation. You can jump from there to any place, but yeah, so shell scripting is kind of mandatory. All right, and yeah, so that's where we're going to start with shell scripting. And actually now you're actually getting into the code, right? You're going to write some code. Okay, you're writing scripting means you're writing some code. Now you're also going to be something like a developer basically. Okay, like a developer, you're going to write the code. You'll also write the code. Whenever you write the code, we'll be having some standards basically, code standards. Code should never be kept in local. First thing, okay, your code should never be kept in local. I mean, you develop in local, but at the end of the day, you have to push it to some central places basically. Okay, some central code repositories, and code should be developed in local. Yeah, of course, as I mentioned, code always will be developed in my local desktop only. I'll be developing it. Okay, but I'll be pushing it to the remote place. Always try to push the code to the central, yes, of course, and always choose editors as per your comfort. So editor choosing is also a quite important thing. So you need to choose editor of your choice, and because editors improves the productivity basically. Using the right editor improves a lot of productivity, and that's where so the editor which we are going to choose is IntelliJ. Okay, every one of you can go with IntelliJ and download this particular IntelliJ and install it. Okay, so because I'm going to use this, and your choice, you want to use some Visual Studio Code, it is your choice. I'm not stopping you, but my personal preference is IntelliJ. That's it. Okay, so and here it is, and you can go with the download. While you download, there are two options. One is Community Edition and the other one is Ultimate Edition. Go with the Community Edition. Okay, Ultimate Edition is only a 30-day trial. After that, it will not work. Again, you have to go back to the community. So that's where go with the Community Edition. Okay, so and install this particular Community Edition. This is fine for us. This is fine for us. And yeah, so we are going to use this particular one from tomorrow. So probably I got a little bit early close today, but still, yeah. So every one of you try to go and download Community Edition. Click next. Your installation is done. That's it. Nothing more than that. Okay, I'm not expecting anything more than that. But tomorrow I'll show you how do you customize this particular IntelliJ as per our need. So how do you do that? We'll talk about this. Probably I can show now, but still I don't have a new machine to show up. I already have a machine where IntelliJ is already installed. Okay, that's fine. So tomorrow I'll try to show you the installation and the configuration of IntelliJ editor, and that's where we'll be talking about a Git repository, starting with a Git repository. So when you have a Git repository, so first we'll start it as a user, then we'll get into something like a real work with the Git things, and probably in some time I'll talk about some administration concept of Git as well. Okay, so this is how it goes. Okay. All right, I think that's all from my side for today. So tomorrow we're going to start with the code, and that's where editor is needed. Download and install IntelliJ IDEA. That's my preference. And the next thing is, yeah, so we are going to start shell scripting after that. That's it. Yeah, I see a question in the chat. So, so we talked about some problems, I think. So these problems, okay, so some problem you're saying is, how about the DR concept? Okay, when you go into the cloud, okay, so your setup itself is a DR basically. Okay, so when I mentioned about so here in North Virginia, right? So North Virginia region, okay, if you are using, so how many availability zones you'll find out in North Virginia is 6 availability zones at least, okay, in North Virginia. And Amazon set up a region with minimum 2 availability zones. And so 2 availability zones means 2 data centers. Typically, those are 2 data centers geographically separated. So this, geographically separated, and there is no chance that, so those 2 data centers goes down at the same time. So DR is a old strategy. So that is an active passive setup. That's an active passive setup. And active passive setup is costlier, right? So that means you're unnecessarily creating the resources which are not really going to be useful. You're unnecessarily paying to the and you're unnecessarily investing in a wrong place. But whereas you come to the cloud area, so you always use active. The resources which you create them, you utilize them as much as possible, and you try to minimize the building effort as well. So, and at the same time, so you always try to configure that in multi-zone. So that's where the high availability comes up automatically, and DR is a kind of not really needed. Exactly to say, DR is a kind of exactly not at all needed. If you design the things properly in the if you design the application and the infrastructure properly, the DR itself is not needed. Yeah, answer to say. But one thing I can say, so the data, basically the data is important for me. Okay, the services and all today due to immutability, so probably I can bring it up in somewhere in a day or so. Probably you can bring up every services. Okay, but the data is a quite important thing. So at least the data strategy people will follow. Okay. Now what I can do is I can take the data and I can keep it in so another cloud. People does this. Okay, another cloud. At least I tell my personal, my current personal project we have is, so we are running in you are running in Mumbai region, because the project is a stock application, so which it is an Indian based bank, so that's where it has to be in India. And also now there is a recent circular actually coming in picture. Actually what we thought was we'll take the dump backups and we'll keep it in some other region. Actually we're thinking about the nearest region for us is Singapore. So we are planning to keep our data in Singapore. Okay, so but now actually we designed that when the application is still going on to live, it's not really in live. But now actually from a couple of days I'm hearing something that a circular has been given on the organization level that your data should never go out of the country, right? Your data should never go out of country. But Amazon, I have only one region in India, right? If I am putting in another region, that means it is going out of country. So that is a problem for me now. Okay, now I'm proposing something else. What I'm proposing is okay, why don't we take another cloud vendor like Azure? Okay, so you take Azure and we'll put the backups in Azure. Okay, Microsoft has other data centers, right? So there is no probability that every cloud goes down, right? So at least taking that particular strategy, I'm planning that way. Okay, so compute DR is not needed, data DR is needed. And also we are also doing something. So 2 data replicas we are planning, because it's a compliance data, so it's a transactional data. So that's where these data compliance will be there, minimum 5 years they should be maintained and something like that. So even if something 2 clouds also goes down, then what is the next question, right? So we are actually planning something like 2 backups. So one backup goes onto the tape drive inside the data center, and one backup goes to other cloud or other region is what initially we planned. Even now it might go to another cloud. So that's how, so it is going to be. I mean, I'm telling you unnecessary things, but still, yeah. So DR is kind of something, is an old strategy when there was no cloud world. Basically, people might still think about in that manner. I agree on that, but when we design the things, at least it's not really needed. And that's my point of view. I might be wrong even, but yeah.
Yeah, so basically why I put that in the chat was primarily to ask if during your if during somebody using the application that the robo application, something went wrong and something got corrupted, then can are we going to go through the scenario of recreating that somewhere else through the pipeline or something like that?
Yeah, so ideally that's what I mentioned, right? So Amazon itself, when they design the data centers, one availability zone or another availability zone, they ensure that, so those 2 availability zones usually never goes down, both the availability zones. Okay, so and also our designing, also our engineering practices, whatever we are doing, also should think through that, so without any kind of the DR scenario. So yeah, so how do we handle that? So I'm mentioning about immutability, right? So if it is immutability is a kind of thing, so it's basically your engineering practices, right? So today you're making CI/CD, the concept is coming. Why the importance of the CI/CD is you forecast the issues in earlier, basically before production, you will forecast the issues. Okay, so and such issues will be noticed and resolved in a very short term, basically. So that's the basic idea, and the whole engineering practices need to be redefined to achieve what you're saying. Your point is correct. If something goes wrong or the pipeline, I need to run something, yeah, so that is one strategy we can make it, but we don't need to really go into that area. Also, if you follow the development properly, I mean the whole engineering practices and the development properly, it is really not needed. Yeah. Yeah, so any other questions from anyone? So the videos, whatever you are watching, is not accessible. It will be accessible only if you are actually logging with the proper ID. So now we can show you here. So if I open this, so here it is showing me the videos because I opened with the proper ID. If I take this and open in incognito mode, so since my login is something else, okay, if my login is something else or I didn't sign in, hopefully you'll be signed in, but signed in with the wrong account. Okay, so you might be using multiple email addresses, so do cross check that once. And yeah, so I think for you at least it is already shared, I know. Yeah, so please cross check once. Or just to avoid that particular issue, also what you can do is in Google you will be having a guest user mode. Okay, Chrome guest user mode. So go to the guest user mode and try to open that URL, try to sign in, and then you try to see them. It will definitely work. So if you are using multiple emails, then this problem will arise. You probably overlook. Just cross check once. Yeah, and anything is there, just reach me on Slack. Okay, and one more thing also is there. So which it is sometimes if you open this Azure DevOps, it actually causes an issues. Okay, I'm not sure everyone is actually trying to practice, but if you try to practice the things, then usually you will be popping up with some. You go to the wiki, so I think wiki side it is not coming yet, but actually one student reported already she's getting it. But yeah, so if I go to the repos and all, I will be popped up with this particular pop up, and if I click on sign in goes, if I mean something, it will not work. So there is a solution actually, which there's a small video, so a 2-minute video. Just follow this video. If you are being popped up with that particular window with a username and password, So there's a simple workaround you should be doing. Okay, I just mentioned that particular one. Use that. Yeah. Anyone? Any other questions?
Raghu, I am unable to see this Azure DevOps issues, right? That screen I am unable to see. Is it anything new related?
Come down, right? You have to go down. Is it there?
Yeah.
No?
Yes. Yes, okay. I was thinking that in the Azure DevOps, yeah, in the main screen, yeah, I got it.
Any questions?
And Raghu,
Yeah.
in the wiki, so you are keeping only the code for these servers and those things on there, right?
Sorry, keeping what?
In the wiki, say what are the codes are available in the wiki? So is it related to the only the project robot shop? Those script only will be available, or say what I mean to say that? Say
it's a documentation approach. Whatever you want to keep it, you can keep it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a Confluence. If you are aware of Confluence from Atlassian.
Yes.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. Any questions? Okay, all right. No questions. We'll meet in tomorrow's session. So tomorrow we're going to start with some shell scripting, but before to that, understanding how a basic user level. So how do you deal with a Git repository, and then we'll move on. Okay. Thank you, and see you in tomorrow's session. Bye. Good day. Good night.